The Knife and Tool Sharpening podcast is made possible by the Guild of Professional Sharpeners, a community of knife and tool sharpening business owners who help each other achieve success as each individual defines it. Learn more at guildofsharpeners.org.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for everything, but ultimately joining and having this conversation with me. So I look forward to what we can get into here. And I was hoping we could start with the origin story of both your knife sharpening business, the Breckenridge Knife and Tool Sharpening, and how that grew from your retail shop off the slopes here in Breckenridge. So,
Okay.
yeah, cool starting with that.
Oh, certainly. As Matt just said, we have a shop called Off the Slopes. It's a gift and knife store. And the knife store has grown over the years. We've had the store for 5 years. And we started with carrying just a couple brands of knives, and it's grown over the years. And as it's grown, a lot of people have come in and asked if I can sharpen their knives. We're in a small resort town, so a lot of people have their pocket everyday carries with them. If they're able to check them into their bags and not get it confiscated through TSA. So hopefully they got them confiscated and we sell them a knife. But yeah, they say, here, can you sharpen my knife? And I said, no. After a few times there, I decided, we have a knife shop. I better be able to sharpen knives. I didn't know where to start. I had no idea where to start. I looked online on knife sharpening and ran across the Guild. And Matt, you sent me some information and I contemplated it. And then every few weeks or a month, I got another letter from you that talked about what is knife sharpening, what are the benefits, and also what are the benefits of joining your guild, the Guild of Professional Sharpeners. And finally, there was an opportunity and a need enough that I joined the guild, and that jump started everything. It really gave me the ability to understand all aspects of knife sharpening on a commercial level, how to set up a knife sharpening business, which I had no idea how to do that. And, how do you market? And what tools do you buy? I didn't have any of that. My only skills were just growing up as a kid. I sharpened knives on a little small stone and I'd get the best edge, but I didn't understand what it was. So joining the guild instantly kicked me off with an understanding of equipment. The light just went out. The equipment, the methods, the tools that we have to use, how to market a business, and probably more importantly, what are other people doing? And the other members of the guild were so open about sharing how they do it. And hopefully I'm doing right here, inspire some other people because there's great opportunity out there. And since I've grown my business, I set up Breckenridge Knife and Tool Sharpening specifically with that name because we're in a small town, a small community. There's a couple other small towns nearby, and I'm the only sharpener here. Let me clarify that. I'm the only knife sharpener and tool sharpener. We're in a ski town. There's ski and board sharpeners. So I had to be careful about not setting up the Perfect Edge company or Sharper Edge company because I'd be overwhelmed with calls for people asking for their skis to be tuned and their edges sharpened. But it is a small community. I've been here a long time. And I saw the need for sharpening services. And I didn't think that it was best for the people in the community to have to drive 2 hours down to Denver area and get something sharpened. So that hence the tool sharpening. There's a lot of different tools, whether it's pruners or loppers for gardening. The flower shops need their pruners and snippers sharpened. There's pet groomers up here that need their clipper blades sharpened. A lot of rentals with knives that get beat up, and a lot of restaurants with chefs that need their knives sharpened professionally. And I've developed the skills over the few years that I've been in the guild to be able to service all those needs.
Yeah. The I wanted to highlight one thing that stands out, and it's we had Glenn Burke on the call with the guild in January, and then I did a show with Buck. And this idea of service first and serving others has really kept resurfacing this year. And from your story, you grew into knife sharpening because you saw it as a way to better serve your customers, the people. And you've also carried that mentality into the guild, and everything you do has been, how can I, the way I interpret what you put out is like, how can I help the next person coming up? And I just really want to highlight that. Like, you're a very service first person.
Very much so. I mean, this is my new career. I retired from my old job, which I was at for 20 years. It was my own business. But this is a new career. And throughout that job and through this, I've never looked at it and said, I want to reach this level of sales next year. And in my old work, I never forecasted and said, this is where I need to be next year. Because to me, the next statement would be, and these are the things I'm going to do to get there. So rather than forecasting where I'm going to be, I look at it and say, these are the things I want to provide to the best of my ability. And whatever result that is going to give me the rewards. I can't do better than that. All I can do is work towards providing the best quality and service product for my customers. And I can't do any better than that. So if I set a goal, I'm going to set a level of quality I'm going to do. No, I'm going to give my customers the highest quality I can. I'm going to give them the best service I possibly can. And that's the best I'm going to do. And the rewards are going to follow. They'll definitely follow. If I focus just on the rewards, that's not satisfying to me.
Yeah, you mentioned something there I want to get into, which is the concept of retirement. And you're coming into this from a previous career. And you also mentioned that once you got going in knife sharpening, you noticed this abundance of other opportunity out there, the flower shops, the groomers, and all that. And your business has grown to accommodate that. But could we talk a little bit about how you see sharpening for people who are considering retirement or approaching that chapter of their life, and what sharpening could do for them?
Sure. Certainly. I think people have different concepts of what retirement is. And to me, retirement wasn't sitting in a rocking chair and just hanging out. It wasn't going out onto the golf course. I really enjoy being involved with people. I really enjoy keeping busy. And yeah, it's satisfying to be able to provide a product or a service, in this case, to customers. There's challenges to go out there and build a business and learn a new skill. And it's something that I can do for as long as I want to, really. I'm planning on doing it for another 20 years. We'll see what happens with that, but I've learned a lot of methods through the guild, actually, how to market. Again, the skills necessary to do it. And I've got this support group through the guild. I can call people, other members, I can call them up. I can direct message them. I can ask questions on our group calls. And so now I have this new career, and I can schedule my own time. I can take on as much work as I want. I could do it full time, which I don't want to do, but there's plenty of work to do it full time if I wanted. To a point, I'd probably have to hire people So I want to limit it. And I'm kind of keeping some containment on what type of sharpening I want to do. I found some niches in sharpening. We mentioned the pet groomers and the flower shops, salons and salon shears. There's a tremendous amount of work out there, but that's really not a direction I want to go into. It's just too much for me to take on. I mean, I could be working 80 hours a week doing that. And I found some areas that I like. One of those is working with the restaurant chefs on real high-end knives. But then I also enjoy helping the local homeowners when they just want a nice sharp set of knives in their kitchen, and maybe they're not high quality knives, but that's okay. We make them sharp and make them work for them. So I'm setting my own hours. I can set my own rates on what I want to charge. I can just work in the evenings if I want. I could work during the days if I wasn't busy doing other things. I can accept the level of work that comes in and limit some of the areas that maybe aren't as much interest to me.
Yeah, I love that. I want to highlight that you can shape the business around your life. And I got to ski with you here at Breckenridge, and you're a dope skier. Yeah, you like fat biking. You take the dog out all the time. You're super committed to your family. So you have these priorities of things that are really important to you, and you can design your sharpening business to serve you at the capacity that you need. Like, it doesn't have to be a ball and chain, and you can do it for the 20 however long you want, and you'll design it the whole way to fit that for you. And I just really
Yeah.
respect what you've done there.
And you know what? I haven't yet felt like, oh, I got to go to work and do some sharpening.
Cool.
And I think I'm going to get up early. I got to do some sharpening,
Yeah.
or, everyone goes to bed and I'm saying, I'm going into the shop and I'm going to do some sharpening, and it's my time and I get to do it and I enjoy it. And so again, it's never been work. It's always been, I get to go do some sharpening.
Nice. And guys, I'm in your shop now. Thank you so much for inviting me in here. But you got a box of knives here. You got another one here you're doing for a nice restaurant, flower shop over here. So you definitely have an abundance of work coming in. And then I also wanted to highlight that we had a guild call in your shop. We got to a shop tour with you this week, which was also very generous of you to invite us in for that. And that the stone sharpening, again, has gotten a lot of attention. That was another big theme that's come up over the last few months, is a lot of people are really focusing in on the added value of freehand sharpening on whetstones, which is something that you are also passionate about. So it's been fun. So first, like, thank you for letting us in, and then also for sharing your methodology over here. And I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but
Well, I think, and maybe in a little different light, there's so many different ways to sharpen, and people will come into our store and say, how do you sharpen? And, well, I sharpen a lot of ways. I use a lot of methods, but I use a belted system primarily, but I stone sharpen high-end Japanese knives, and I enjoy that. Uh, I don't know if I get a better edge that way. The customer wants them on a stone. They don't want them on a belt, which I think is a misconception. That's an old thought, because belts can be very, very effective. They don't change the temper of the blade. They don't damage the blade in any way. They can produce a really sharp edge. And I can do 100, 200 passes on a stone, or I can do 6 passes on a belt and be done with it. So I can do some pretty fast production sharpening, but stones do take a little bit longer. They don't have to take a real long time. I don't use any grinding wheels. I'll leave that for the Japanese knife makers that have their 4-foot stones that are cooled, and I have, I have, um, I have, 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 I a radius platen on my belt that matches those stones, so I can match the convex grind on those, or the concave grind here. So that's another part, I guess, of having my business. I get to do it my way, and my way's not the right way. No one's way is the right way. We all do it different, and we do what works for us. And I'm looking for a certain quality of an edge. I'm not looking to enter a competition to see if I could get the sharpest edge in the world. I want to get the best edge for my customer. You just mentioned I got some gardening or some forest shop tools. She gave me a couple pairs of scissors and she said, these are for cutting ribbons. So I'm going to get an edge and I'm going to test it on some ribbons and make sure I cut ribbons. She has some that cut stems of plants. I'll cut some stems with those and make sure I have that. I've got some steak knives for a restaurant. Got a bunch of steak knives for some restaurants. Yeah. I want those to be good knives that are going to hold up in the restaurant. I've got some chef knives that the chefs need to care for. They're very delicate tools, and they're the tools of their trade. They need them sharpened a certain way, and I'll sharpen them that way for them. So it's enjoyable. Every knife's a little bit different.
Yeah, I love that. You have a real solid commitment to quality, and I'd hope that is something that becomes contagious with other people who learn from you and work with you, and it does for me, which I appreciate. In addition to your sharpening process, like you're just saying how you pay attention to how the knife is going to be used, and you're going to design your sharpening to meet that intent. And I also wanted to highlight in your shop the quality of the tools and the cutlery that you're selling in your shop. And I'm here with my daughter, and I was able to swing into your shop one day after skiing, and we ended up buying a few knives and some other really nice stuff that you have for sale in there. But again, I just wanted to highlight the commitment to quality and what you're putting out there.
I've always focused on value, and quality's relative to what you're providing. The customer needs to feel that they received value in what they did. When a homeowner that has a rental property, sharp to them, value to them is a sharp knife that's going to hold up in their rental property. That knife is not going to do it for a chef, a high-end chef. They want a different type of quality and the value that they get out of what they pay. So if I charge a homeowner, say $10 for a knife, they're going to get basically $10 sharpening. It's going to be a very good quality sharpening. If I hand that same quality to a chef and charge him $10, he's not going to feel that he got value for what he got. That's of no value to him, really. He paid $10 for something that's not the quality level that he's looking for. The customer needs to feel that they got a good deal, that the money that they gave me was well worth what they received in return in the service and the quality of that knife and the sharpness of the knife, and that it meets their needs, as we just discussed, whether it's cutting protein, a steak, a fish, cutting vegetables, chopping vegetables, or cutting a flower. A chainsaw blade, they want a sharp chainsaw blades. Chainsaws aren't exactly my favorite thing to do, but there's no one else up here doing it, so I kind of took on that responsibility and try to limit how many I do of those. So, yeah, value and quality kind of go together. I always want every customer to feel they got really good value for what they bought. I never want to overcharge them. I don't want to shortchange myself for the effort that I put in. That I can set my own prices.
Yeah.
and I can discuss it with the customer and make sure that they're comfortable with that. I always give them an estimate before I go in so they know what to expect. And again, value has to do, did you meet expectations?
The one story that comes to mind is, so first, a lot of people look at the sharpening space and they think, man, there's a ton of knives in restaurants. Like that's going to be my market. I think what I've kind of learned over time is that there are other services that serve restaurants and they become accustomed to relatively poor quality cutlery done at a price that doesn't really work for guys like us. But what you've found, as far as I can tell, are like legit chefs who have a knife roll of these beautiful knives. And you were telling me that one of the chefs that you sharpen for used to work at the restaurant and at the White House, and has come here to Breckenridge to help elevate the status of a restaurant in the area. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, you're remembering it right. It's a restaurant I was sharpening for, and I got introduced to the chef. They said, "This is our new head chef." And, "Oh, nice to meet you." Well, I come to find out he was a head chef at the White House for 25 years. He's a master chef at a level very few people who have achieved that level. And he had set down 4 knives in front of me and said, "Here, can you sharpen these for me today?" And then I found out who he was, and it made me a little nervous.
Yeah.
But he was delighted with the knives I gave him. He said, "I've been bring a bunch in from my home collection." He walked in with some knives from his sous chef and said, "Here, can you do these knives?" Yeah, for me, that's a fun market, is hitting these high-end chefs. One of his lead chefs is a high-end resort that they work at with multiple restaurants in it. One of his lead chefs just told me actually yesterday that he's moving to another state, also to be a banquet chef at that location. And he's moving his whole family out there. He's got 2 kids and his wife. And he's very excited about moving and upset he has to leave all his friends that he's worked with for 10 years. But what was really cool is I looked at where he was going, and I looked up on the guild map, and I found somebody who was pretty much down the street from where he was working, where he's moving to. And so we connected, and he's excited to help this chef. I hope. And the chef walked into the restaurant during his interview and said, "Who does your knife sharpening?" And they said, "Oh, we just do our own." And he said he felt the edge, and he's like, "This isn't good." He said, "We got a problem." So he said, "Have you considered bringing in a sharpener who knows what they're doing?" And so, yeah, I was happy to be able to talk to one of the other guild members and give him the referral. I gave the chef the guild member's name, and so they'll be in contact with each other, and hopefully keep providing him service and introduce it to this restaurant that he's going to.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I wanted to get that out as well, as that in your brick and mortar store as well, there's a lot of tourism here. So people will come in, and sometimes even regardless of whether or not they buy a knife, they're interested in the sharpening. And because we have a map of all of the guild members, you are able to ask them where they are and then refer to the guild map and find a trusted sharpener near them, a lot of times anyway. Yeah, can you just talk a little more on that? Like maybe how often that happens?
It's almost daily that I get somebody walking in the shop and said, "Oh man, I wish I would have brought my knives, but I flew out here and I couldn't pack them, or I didn't know you were here." Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who need their knives sharpened. And so it happens several days a week where I am able to pull up a map and hopefully find a guild member. I'd sure like it if the guild would expand its reach and hit some other locations around the country. There's an abundance of work out there. Yeah, I enjoy referring people to. I actually had somebody come in from the Gold Coast in Australia the other day.
Nice.
And there's a young member in the guild that I've befriended a little bit. And We've had some direct messaging back and forth on some topics, and I was actually able to refer somebody to Australia, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
But we got people coming in, yeah, pretty regularly. I actually had some people come in, two groups come in last month from Houston. We're in a resort town. They were here this summer, and I was doing sharpening at a outdoor market, a farmer's market, and two people within like 2 days of each other both came in with boxes of about 35 knives each and say, "Here, Steve, we loved what you did for us this summer. Can you do these?" I brought them up from Houston. And it was just such a coincidence. Both of them from Houston. We got a lot of people from Texas up here to go skiing and get out of the heat of Houston. Yeah, it was kind of fun to have them bring all their knives, and then they start referring their friends, and it can grow rather quickly.
Yeah, that's awesome. The guy in Australia is one of the youngest members in the guild as well. I believe he's at this time he's like 17 years old, and he's a rock star. He's so awesome. That's super fun. Like he's also very good at showing up on the calls and participating. So that's great that worked out.
Yeah, to me, it's interesting. The age groups we've got from him, who I think he's the youngest at
I think
17.
so too. Yeah.
Got some younger guys in their maybe 20s or 30s that are
Yeah.
thinking of doing this as a career. And we've got a little bit older guys who are doing it to support their income, which is fine. And then there's other guys who are trying to make a full-time business out of it. And either they're working another job and thinking of leaving it, or their business isn't doing well and they're thinking they're not going to have a job at some time, but they're using it to supplement their income or as a backup in case their day job doesn't work out. You got guys approaching retirement that are trying to figure out what they're going to do with their lives. And I think it's a great thing to look at doing. They could do it in the last few years that they're working and build the skills up and be prepared to just flip a switch and go full time on it or part time on it, whatever they want to do for retirement. In my case, again, I had retired from my previous job, and I had a need that was a demand from the customers, and I thought, this is something I want to do. So I elected to start sharpening. Good choice.
Yeah. Awesome choice. And then, is there anything you're thinking about for like? It seems like you have your business where you want it, but at the same time, I was wondering if do you have an ambition of directing your sharpening business or the store in a direction in the future?
I really like culinary knives,
Yeah.
and we have, I don't know, 10 high name brands of pocket knives in our store, and a few culinary knives. But actually, I'm working on bringing in, and I've just recently brought in some culinary knives. I brought in some really nice American-made knives, some German knives, and the Japanese knives fascinate me. They're beautiful knives, lighter weight than the German knives, handmade. And there's some innovations going on in their industry, in the knife making industry, with new metals and new methods that they're making knives. So yeah, I'd like to grow the knife business. But in order to do that, and I recognize this 6 months or a year ago, that I can't grow that business without a better understanding of sharpening. So I've taken some training in sharpening by some really strong sharpeners that know Japanese knives. And the Japanese knife companies I've talked to are delighted that they're going to be selling to somebody that can provide after sales support, being sharpening, care for the knives. Because I don't just want to be a knife salesman. I want to support the customer, sell them a nice knife, help them maintain it, sharpen it when they need it, build that relationship. And yeah, that's the way I really want to go.
Cool. Yeah. One thing you said earlier that when we were talking is that before you gave yourself permission to sell this high-end cutlery, you had to have the confidence that you'd be able to care for it and maintain it over time. And that was just another example of you and your commitment. And I love that. It's so awesome. And I also want to, like, you have also been very good about seeking training and getting educated on the thing that you're doing. And it's also another brilliant move. Like, so many sharpeners continue to go out and get training in every way possible. And again, seems like you're one of those people that are really genuinely committed to that.
YouTube provides an awful lot of videos. And as I said earlier, there's no right way to sharpen. So you can pick up ideas on YouTube. You can try different techniques and see what works for you. I like calling people in the guild and having just one-on-one discussions with them. Hey, I got this knife in with this material. How are you approaching this knife, this material with it? How should I approach it? And whether it's what grade of stone or what belts to use, angles to do it, what material is it cutting? Some of them are 50-50 edge grinds. Some of them are asymmetric. Some of them are chisel grinds. And, what's the difference? And how do I treat this one versus that one? So yeah, talking to people in the guild. And then there's some people in the guild that put out some videos. And again, I can try those techniques, and they put them out because it's something that worked for them. And then I could follow up with questions with them and just one-on-one ask questions and say, I tried this. This is what happened. Recommendations. And it's great to have just a whole lot of mentors out there.
Yeah. Yeah. People seem to fall into certain categories where they're like the resident expert on certain things. So it is nice. Like, if I were like bench stones, I'm sure like Ken's at the top of your list. Like, if you want to talk stones, like Jason is a guy. If I want to talk about knife steel or like ask you a question about knife steel, I'm going to reach out to Jason. But there's all sorts of things, and Buck is an awesome resource.
Buck's a great resource for a lot of things, especially when you go into scissors and shears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's got their areas of expertise, and it's because that's what they love to do. And that's kind of fun. If you start into a new area, then you can ask somebody who's an expert in that area.
We were looking at some of your knives a little bit ago, and they are so nice. And we were taking them out and like feeling them and holding them. And I was like, man, how do we get these in the hands of people? Because people use knives every day. And if they just knew what it was like to use this beautiful high-end piece of cutlery, it changes the whole dynamic in the kitchen, where it's like, instead of like, oh, I have to go cook something, it's like, oh man, I get to use this knife this time, Like, you had a great comment of like, I was like, how can we get these knives in the hands of more people? And you remember what your answer was there?
No,
it was one knife at a time.
Oh,
like, baby steps, man. Like, and you sell knives out of your shop, and you're making a difference in those people's lives one knife at a time.
Yeah, some of these people come in and they're renting a condo, and they come in and say, there's not a sharp knife in the place. I just want a traveling knife. We go all over. I just want one knife to carry with me. What do you have? And that's always fun. When someone gets a sharpened knife and they come back in with this huge smile on their face, saying, it was so fun to cook last night with this sharp knife. What a difference.
Yeah.
I've had another one. There's a little tangent.
Cool.
A lady come in. Actually, we ran across her the other day on a trail. And she said, Steve, I was using the knife, and it was so nice. And I went to wipe it on a sponge, and it cut right through the sponge, right into 3 of my fingers. She said, that knife's awesome. She just loved it. And she's like, I cut all 3 fingers. They're all right. But she didn't even know it was so sharp. And she was so happy. And I said, That's one of the greatest compliments you can give a knife sharpener.
Yeah.
I said, thank you. But yeah, I've had a few people say, yeah, they're so sharp. Oh my gosh. And they can create with their cooking in such a way that they've never been able to do before.
Yeah. It's almost magical. It's awesome. Can we plug your shop and this, like, if, because you're like, I got a couple knives from you, and after hanging out with you and checking out your store, you're my knife guy now. So, and I was looking through a catalog with you, and I was thinking about people in my life that I'd like to gift a beautiful or like a purpose built knife for. And when those times come up in my life now, I'm going to call you and have that discussion with you. And I assume you're open to that.
Oh, certainly. I'm still adding to the collection. Some of these Japanese knives are hard to come by. I'm putting together an order right now. They told me it's a 2.5 year lead time.
Yeah.
And I got to get this order in because they're going to a show next week. And at that show, they're going to pick up a bunch more orders. I've got another manufacturer that I've gotten some knives in from. I need to place another order. It's a 6-month lead time with them. Yeah, I'm getting a little low on some of my knives. We carry a lot of name brands on the pocket knives. Buck and Benchmade, Kershaw, Gerber, Case. We have several different knives. Some of our chef knives are a company called Bradford out of Washington State. Well, Magna Cut steel, super well balanced, just a fantastic knife. We have Messermeister, which is a German knife. And, I've got plenty of those in stock. Got some carbon knives from them, some stainless knives, German steel. And they have some Japanese knives that they buy from a Japanese company that is one of the vendors that I'm working with as well. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody is looking for a knife. I guess they can call us.
Yeah.
I'll have more knives in 6 months and in a year and in 2 years.
Yeah.
But I'm picky about which knives I'm getting in. And some of these high quality knives, there's a long lead time on them. In this case, 2.5 years. So I can bring in some knives next week, but they're not going to be of the quality that I want.
Yeah, there was one knife that I wanted. I was a gift, and I had like very specific things that I thought would most satisfy the person I'm buying this knife for. And it was fun being able to go through knives with you, and like you like helping like find the right knife that would fit this. And I think that we did. And it's a Messermeister, but it is definitely not the image that comes to mind when I think of Messermeister knives, because it's a Japanese line that Messermeister's selling, but it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
beautiful
awesome.
knife.
So nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're my knife guy now. And hopefully other people follow suit on that. I love the being able to contribute to each other's success.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we've done a nice job of introducing your business and sharing what awesome work you've done over the last couple of years only, right?
It's been 5 years.
Okay.
We've had the business just over 5 years. Again, it's called Off the Slopes. The original idea was to have a shop that wasn't a ski shop, didn't sell bikes and skis and snowboards, but just some things off what you do off the slopes. Kitchenware, knives for camping, knives for hunting, something other than a ski shop. We wanted to be a little bit different. Wanted to have a men's directed shop a little bit, and have things for everybody. I wanted the cooks in the house, whether it was the male of the house, the female of the house. We want to have some things for kids. We have some nice kids' knives, rounded tips and nice hand guards on them. But we do have a lot of dress shops in town. And guys walk in our shop and their eyes pop open and they're like, oh, finally a shop for me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have something other than a dress shop.
Dude, when I was in there, someone walked in and like I was upstairs at the time, but I heard him. He's like, oh, I'm a knife guy. Like I could just tell like he was going to be in there for a minute. he came back with a purchase as well.
It's always fun to have a knife shop and people walk in and they say, "Oh, I got this one."
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and I can ask them, "What are you carrying today?"
Yeah.
And so many people carry knives. I love it when a parent comes in with a 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old boy or girl, and they're getting their first knife and they're so excited about it. And that's so fun to work with them. We were amazed. My wife is always amazed that there's a lot of high school and college girls that have knife collections. And I'm talking 25, 100, 200, 300 knives. And they just collect knives and they love that. And yeah, I think that's probably my wife's favorite customer is the younger girls who come in and are knife collectors, and she just likes to show them something that's unique.
Yeah. Yeah, I was super impressed when I was in there. Your wife was also there, and she was responding to a customer who had some question about some knives, and she's become very fluent in knives as well, which I was super impressed with. She's awesome.
I think she enjoys selling them.
Yeah,
She was a little hesitant at first, but I think the more she works with people and finds that she's filling a need or a want that people have, she enjoys that.
yeah. I also, as you were talking there, I remembered that a while back you did some laser engraving for me as well. I needed a sign for my drop box where my customers drop off and pick up knives. And the one I had done before was laminated, and the rain got in there, and I was like, this isn't going to work. So I reached out to you, and you did a very awesome sign for me and sent that out to me. So that's another service that you offer.
It is. We when we started, beginning of the conversation, it's a gift and knife shop. A lot of the gifts we make, metal wall art, wood art. We do CO2 engraving on wood and plastic pieces. And then I have a fiber laser so I can engrave the blades on knives, and we can do custom engraving on the knives. Yeah, making the sign. We do some commercial signage. Got quite a bit of capability there. Over the years, it's turned more into a knife shop with some gifts than a gift shop with knives.
Yeah.
And that is some of the direction that we're taking the store. It's a knife is an item that people can't live without. It's like a wallet or a watch or your glasses, a baseball cap. It's just something that some people have to have on them at all times. And they don't need it necessarily a piece of art, another piece of art for their house. And we've recognized that. So you got to adjust your business to where the demand is. And there's a need for knives. There's a need for knife sharpening. And that's something that I don't think AI is going to take over.
Yeah, I agree. And we've seen some automated offerings come out on the scene, but all they're doing is creating more business for us. And one thing I wanted to ask you about was if there's a sharpener who, I don't know if there's anything general here, but like if there's a sharpener who is enamored with the idea of opening a retail shop, do you have any, I know it's case by case but do you have any general thoughts on things that they should maybe consider, or lessons you've learned through your shop that might be helpful to them?
There's a lot to consider, and people can contact me. I'd be happy to go through it.
Yeah.
Location's critical. Unless you have to try to compete online is more than difficult.
Yeah.
We have foot traffic, which helps. We're a little off the beaten path where our store is. It's just not quite on the highly traveled walkway, and that limits us. If we were 30 feet over, right on the busy sidewalk, we'd have 5 times the work, but I don't know if we want to be that busy in our lives. Finding the right location's really critical. It's tempting to go into low-end knives, and we sell a lot of low-end knives, but make sure that's what you want to be doing day in and day out. Selling high-end knives, you're not going to sell that many of them, but to me, it's so much more enjoyable to really work with some high quality product, and people are genuinely interested in buying a nice knife, whether it's their first knife, whether it's a knife for hunting. They want a good quality knife for hunting. Just, I don't know, be a little picky about what you buy. Um, it's hard to have something for everybody. That's what we kind of try to do in our store, because we get a full range of people in our store. I don't know. Maybe over the years we might transition a little bit to more of a specialty boutique. It just depends on the individual and what they're looking to do. You can go into knife sharpening and have an offering of knives to sell, or you could have a knife shop and look for sharpening to be a value-added service. So it kind of works both ways. I would say if you've been sharpening and you enjoy sharpening and you're thinking about maybe retiring and, hey, maybe I'll pick up sharpening as my next career or as my retirement job, you pick up sharpening, find some nice knives, and you can, when you sharpen for someone, see if they're interested in buying those knives. You can always grow your inventory that way. Your knife sharpening could support that, but just to jump in is really a challenge. It can be very expensive. You can spend an awful lot of money on inventory. We've tried to build our inventory over the years. As we sell, we just buy more. We've been reinvesting. Fortunately, we're in a position where we can continue to reinvest and grow our inventory. And then another thing is kind of the more knives we bring in, the more sales we get. When you have a very limited selection, it's a little harder to sell. So the Japanese knives I bring in, I bring in some chef knives, Gyotos, or Nakiris, some paring knives, some petty knives, just some different knives, because everyone comes in with a different need. So I have a range of knives, but I try to limit it a little bit and get some nice ones. So I have a good selection, but not overwhelming necessarily. It's a hard balance.
Yeah.
But that's going to be each individual. I think they can figure out as they go along what they want to be doing.
Yeah.
Personally, I try to stay away as much as I can from Chinese-made knives. Some people will come in and say, "Oh, you have Chinese-made knives. I don't want to buy from you."
Mm-hmm.
And some of the Chinese knives are quality knives, but I'm picking the knives that I like to sell, that I'm comfortable selling and excited about.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm just so honored that this whole, like, our orbits have come together. Like I really, our friendship that has grown over the years, like we've spoken a lot on the phone, and being able to connect with you out here. I'm skiing with my daughter now, and it means a lot, Steve.
Oh, thank you.
I really respect you, and thank you so much for everything you do for everybody in your life. And,
Sure.
and for taking the time to do this call. I hope this has a lasting impact positively on someone's life.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Oh, you're welcome very much. I mean, Matt's an amazing person. Just an amazing person. He gives up everything for the members in the guild, and he's always there for us when we have any question. He doesn't profess to be the top sharpener in the world. He's not there for that. He's there to help us grow our business, and he's got a strong skill set in sharpening. And if we have questions, we can go to him, or he'll refer us to somebody who he knows is more suitable to answering our question. And yeah, that's all you can ask for a friend and a mentor.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we'll wrap it up here.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks again.
Very good.